Great. Well, welcome to the second panel. And as Ashley mentioned, that last question actually is a terrific segue into this discussion. To borrow from my earlier comments, we're going to be talking in part about sock nets, which has morphed into social media, and how some of the platforms that we use can be used not only to help prompt civic participation, but how it really they can be used to engage with one another in discussions around politics and policy. And so I'm excited here. We have one change in our agenda. Matt Mahan sends his regrets, or rather his assistant did. He became very ill, apparently food poisoning late last night, and so was not able to make it. But we're very excited to be joined by Elana Berkowitz here, who was also last edition. But panel here, we'll start first with, to my left, Deborah Devedjian is the founder and chief citizens officer at TheChisel, which we'll learn more about here this morning. Deborah brings a multi-sector background to her work with a principal focus on education and creating learning organizations. As a slight and interesting aside, her patron saint is Ben Franklin. So I think we've heard Ben Franklin mentioned more this morning, although that is someone that is talked about regularly here at the School of Public Policy, and I think one of the many ways in which we're a unique graduate policy program. To her left, your right, is James Hall, who's the founder and CEO of Open Campaign. James brings a significant background in technology to the launch of Open Campaign. He is a local, and as a slight aside, if you have any questions about the best area surf spots, then James would definitely be someone you would want to speak to there. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Elana Berkowitz, who is not on your agenda, but we're very thankful to have her join us from the Bay Area. Elana Berkowitz heads up HelloVote and brings also a multi-sector background to the launch of that platform, having worked for McKinsey as well as the White House. And one of the interesting things in doing some background on Elana is her platform was the only one I saw that was profiled in Glamour magazine, which if anyone thinks that the civic engagement and civic tech world is dull and boring, when you reach Glamour magazine, you understand that things are changing. So great to have you all here. As with the last panel, we're going to begin with a quick profile of each one of the platforms here. And again, the general theme of this session is going to be looking at how some of these networking platforms can be used to engage one another in conversations, but also in the process of civic participation. And so, Deborah, we'll begin with you, and you wanted to use the web to pull it up. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hello, I'm thrilled to be here. My name's Deborah Devedjian with TheChisel.com, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate first on two fronts. First, I am a born and bred, Philadelphia person. My heart is very much a New Yorker, where I've been for many, many years. However, I got here yesterday, and I think I'm already a devotee. I want to move to California. I want to thank you all so much for this. I'm going to start surfing, and James is going to help me figure out how to do it. So this is totally cool. I've never shifted my mind on anything so quickly, and I was told today even the weather's bad here, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is heavenly, absolutely heavenly. On the other side, and as seriously, but also kind of a funny note in a sense, or an ironic note, is we think about technology so much as being a panacea, and I think we want to be really, really careful, because in as much as everything all of us are doing right now has an element of technology to it, I think we need to remember the reason that we're all here, and thank you so much for the convocation that you've created. It is high touch, it is in touch, it is personal, and at the end of the day, any technology that's created is ultimately a function of the people and the brains and the passions and the minds and the biases and the experiences behind the technology. And so to that end, let's please not forget that the technology is only a tool. The technology is a tool to bring together the best of our passions and the best of our desires and the best of our aspirations for what we want this country to be and how we want it to develop. And so with all those critical thinking skills that Cami was talking about and the civic engagement needed that Nate was talking about and the way Hunter is thinking about different demographics and so on, these are the kinds of things we need to pull together, but in a way that suggests a superior level of leadership, of ethics, of morality, and those critical thinking skills in an inclusive a fashion as possible, and that's really what we're all about. I'm going to start with a really quick overview of what the Chisel is, because I talk too much. Oh, hang on. Sorry, one second.
There is a lot of
Okay.
noise in Washington,
Because
but it
technology
feels
gets
like
so goofy sometimes, so over the course of the last 24 hours, my computer crashed, nothing was retrievable. FedEx was supposed to have delivered something yesterday. It's still in New Jersey, won't be delivered until Monday. 3 or 4 other technological problems happen because of lack of communication as the underlying problem, again, back of humans. So we are the Chisel, and you were all supposed to have one of these. The frustrations of politics is what this is all about, and as a result of, everybody will get a stress rock of the Chisel. You'll all get one next week, I promise. But as a result of...
Should we have kept one of the stress rocks here?
For me? Oh, maybe for you. Sorry. Okay, anyway, so why don't you just start that? But this is the source of frustration for what's happening in politics today, which is beyond dysfunctional and unconscionable, is why we've created the Chisel.
And with that...
And please.
the voice of regular citizens like your voice isn't heard. These days, those with the deepest pockets have the loudest voice. Special interest groups of all kinds are at the table, but where are we? Through TheChisel.com, you can become part of the discussion in Washington. We, the people, will join together to rebuild the United States and restore the powers our founding fathers intended you to have, a voice and a vote. Here's how it works. Across America, nonprofit think tanks and research institutes are developing exciting public policy proposals. Chisel vets these proposals for you and finds the ones that meet our strict criteria for bipartisanship, institutional credibility, and rigorous analysis. You get intelligent, easy-to-read proposals with cool graphics and no jargon. You get the facts vetted by both sides, not rhetoric from one side, so you can decide for yourself. Now comes the most important step. You chisel the proposals about the issues important to you. You can ask the experts for clarification, suggest improvements to the proposal, and share how the issues affect you and your community. The experts respond and improve the proposal based on your feedback. Next, vote on the proposal. Want to strengthen the visibility in Washington? Vote yes. Don't like what you see? Vote no. And the experts continue refining the proposal until a majority of voters say yes. Then Chisel works with the bipartisan sponsors to find members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to sponsor your proposal. And we keep you informed of its progress every step of the way. With Chisel, you are informed and engaged in a more transparent, accountable democracy. The power of your voice and your vote is restored. So unleash your power with TheChisel.com.
Thank you, Dean Peterson. I'm just going to spend two quick minutes just going through the site to give you a sense for what's going on here. Okay. Benjamin Franklin is our Chief Inspiration Officer, by the way, and he has a specific spot on our group page. Anyway, what we've done is we're working with the best prominent think tanks on the left and the right, and we're bringing them together to fuse new bipartisan proposals. And so everything that we post on the site has been vetted and created substantively and jointly by a group on the left and a group on the right. We've recently launched to sort of friends and family. We've got about 10, 15,000 users, and we're finding that not only is the technology working, but the proposals are developing in a way that people are excited to read great information. They're excited about the nature of how we're presenting the information, and they're excited about the opportunity to engage in a conversation about some potential problems that can be solved. We're starting at a federal level. We have the ability to do it at a state level and a local level. Right now we have a couple of major we have 4 proposals up. We had done the, well, we'll do that one later. This was, this proposal, the tax proposal, was jointly created by American Enterprise Institute and the Tax Policy Center, which is a joint venture between Brookings and Urban Institute. The economy on farm subsidies is a joint venture between National Taxpayers Union Foundation and Public Interest Research Group, which is a left-wing organization. The elections, this is a way to counter the big money problem, and Dan and I are already going to be doing something together soon, and I can't wait to do that with regard to big money. But this is a proposal that's been created by, jointly created by PIRG, a Public Interest Research Group, and Take Back Our Republic on the right. So, to give you a sense for what we're trying to do, we're trying to show information in as okay, this is very slow. In an exciting way as possible. All the proposals have the same basic framework. Here's information about the organizations. Here are the experts who proposed it on the left and the right. But most importantly, what we're trying to do is we're trying to change the way the conversation happens among Americans in the way that a public policy conversation happens. First, we're presenting the issue. What is the background information with regard to the issue? Defining the problem so that we jointly agree on what the problem actually is and the definitions behind it. Some basic background and information about the authors so that you can vet the validity of these authors if you buy it or if you don't buy it. Then they're jointly proposing a solution. Again, this is not the CHISEL's solution. This is the solution as presented by these experts. And you can join the conversation, and then lastly, you can go into vote. When you're looking at any of the information, you can, well, I'm sorry, you can look at all the information in this fashion, and if you're a journalist, you can get most of the information in a very concerted way, or you can go in and you can get it in a fun little clip. Each of the major points has a clip, a pictograph, or a picture that can be shared with the community at large by a variety of different ways of social media and so on and so forth. You can go into each of them. There's a great deal of additional go deeper information and background information. You can click into any of these to see what the original sources are. Everything that we use is primary sources, and all of the information, everything that's presented, every color, every number, every word has been agreed to by the experts on these panels. They present a solution to you in a very simple way. If you want additional information above and beyond the bullet points, you can click into it. You can then join the conversation. If you want to join the conversation, you can talk to the experts. And so when you see stuff in orange, the experts are responding to you. They're talking back and forth and giving you feedback on the questions. One of the things that we're trying to do is avoid the notion of people giving knee-jerk reactions. And so instead of just commenting on a proposal, you're asked to make a suggestion to make it better, ask a question for clarification, or lastly, to tell a personal story. You can also create your own profile page, and then lastly, you can vote on a proposal. So I'll leave it at that for now. We're really excited about what's been happening. We've gotten lots of great feedback, and more organizations are coming into play to want to join and jointly put proposals together with groups on the other side. And so we would welcome any submissions that you all might have. Thanks.
Thank
Stick
you.
to that for now.
No, that's great. James, I'll hold your.
Oh, do you want to sit over here? You sure?
Have a
Okay.
seat.
Okay.
Okay, great. So my name is James Hall. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Open Campaign. And thank you, Peterson and Downport Institute and the School of Public Policy. And actually, this auditorium is actually dedicated to James Wilburn. James Wilburn, I grew up with his son, and he actually helped me get into Pepperdine as a Seaver undergrad. So I kind of came in as a rebel kid here. So, and I tortured my professors with some of the crazy stuff I did on my political essays. So. Anyway, so Open Campaign. So what is Open Campaign? Okay, so basically think about at a local level of government, and most levels of government, the actors that are there. You have voters, you have politicians, and you have local organizations. And those local organizations also are local media. So coming in as a voter, most voters, people think that their voice doesn't count. People think that no one's listening to their issue and nobody's talking about, things that affect them. A lot of people feel disenfranchised, and this is both at the local level and at the national level. Politicians as well, the barriers to entry in politics in the United States is exceptional. You have to have a war chest, and at most levels of government. We have local elections reaching in $100 million in some of these large cities. So organizations as well, local organizations, banning plastic bags, rodenticide. Here in Malibu, we have a lot of local organizations, and there's 1.5 million nonprofit organizations in the United States. But what everybody has in common between the voters, the politicians, and the organizations are the issues. Everything is put down to a specific issue. Think of the NRA, think of Planned Parenthood, guns, abortion, issues like that. So what we do is we've created this triumvirate. Okay, so we have, as you can see, organizations, voters, politicians, all surrounded by an issue. So issues, what does that mean? Well, let's think about it here. Okay, here's a local issue in Malibu. Right outside of Pepperdine, we have cyclists that ride by on the street all the time. But they ride in packs. They're not supposed to do that. So that's a local issue. That is a problem that's prevalent to Malibu as opposed to, sort of problem in Santa Monica, because Santa Monica has bike lanes. So you can go in, you can create an issue, you can create an idea, and you can create polls. So what this does is allows public politicians to come in and to gauge policy. Say a politician comes in and say, we want to build a bridge, we want to build a sidewalk or a bike lane. They can put it out there. Everybody in the local community can vote on it. They can agree and disagree on it, and it opens up public discourse. So what we're doing is creating a virtual town hall. Right now, mostly in America, everybody goes into the town hall, and whoever screams and yells the most is one usually people get attention to. This one is a way to gauge the entire city, county, state, and we actually went to national as well. Here's some more issues, and these issues actually come directly from the site. Excessive parking fines, parking tickets. Anybody here ever got a parking ticket before? It's astronomical how much they charge. And parking tickets disproportionately affect low-income people in that. $73 for a street cleaning ticket. If you were getting minimum wage, that's a day's pay after taxes. GMO food, it's a poll that went in, or our national polls that we have on agriculture and food. Most people want to know, 70% of people want to know what's in their food and wants to be labeled. Well, special interest groups have created laws where we can't label our food anymore. But think about the history of local issues, okay? So smoking, right? Most of us grew up, some of us grew up where you could still smoke in airplanes, you could still smoke in restaurants. Well, the local city council in Aspen in 1985 said, hey, we've had enough of this. We don't want smoking in our restaurants anymore. Obviously, Aspen is a more progressive, liberal town, and so they banned it. 1987, Beverly Hills. 1996, Los Angeles. By 1998, California was the first state to ban smoking in not only restaurants, but also for public workers and public workspace. Now we have 37 states have some type of ban, and a lot of Western Europe now also has followed that ban. So a small local issue that's come up from a local community has actually made an impact on the world. Again, plastic bag ban. 2007, San Francisco banned plastic bags. City of Malibu, a year later, banned plastic bags, and so on. Hawaii, which is very interesting, has an all-state plastic bag ban. And it's actually not done by the state level, it's done by the local jurisdictions. All the local jurisdictions have actually come together and say, we don't want these types of plastic bans because they're affecting the environment. So you have health, environment, and now we have a commercial. Okay, Airbnb is great. We've all used Airbnb, and it's an awesome tool. But if you live next to a place that is just using it for commercial purposes, nice quiet house in Malibu turns into animal farm. Not animal farm, but animal house. So people...
Could be either one.
Freudian slip there. But people coming in, and they don't want this in their local neighborhood. So what did Santa Monica do? Santa Monica created a city ordinance and said, hey, you can do Airbnb, but you can only rent out a room. So the homeowner has to be there. So Airbnb, obviously, is suing City of Santa Monica. Anaheim actually banned the entire use of Airbnb. The New York State Senate passed a law banning Airbnb in the state of New York. Cuomo hasn't signed this, but it's on his desk. So these small issues that become problems at the local level, where the local community are bringing it up, become, as I said, they metastasize and move up. So an open campaign, as you engage with more and more of these local issues, it helps you to match to that local politician that's also putting out issues and engaging. So if you look at national issues are pretty easy to see where Democrats and Republicans stand. So what we do with the national issues to help, match to politicians is we've created a score. So every incumbent in the House and Senate actually has a score from 10 liberals to 10 conservative. And as you can see here, we have Bernie Sanders, he's very liberal, he's 8.6, and we have Rand Paul at 7.2. But as you can see, we have all these icons in a little U to where you stand next to them. Also, what we do is we pull in a lot of data. We actually use MapLight, so Daniel, thanks for that, because we actually use your API. We use VoteSmart, we use Open Secrets. We pull in all this publicly available information about these politicians so that people can see, how they relate, what's their information. But with our test and our quiz, so we launched this quiz, which I built with one of the professors here at Pepperdine. And this quiz allows you to take 21 issues. It has a really slick little slider you can use, so you use it on mobile devices and everything. I have a background in user interface and UX. So we wanted to make this simple and also attention spans, We're apparently less than goldfish. So, you have to have something quick. We launched about 5 months ago. We've had about 80,000 people take this quiz. So a lot of people have come in. We get about 150,000 people a month coming to our site. So let's look at the size of government here in the United States, and let's look at the numbers, okay? So there's, at the federal level, we have 537 politicians, and they consume about 9.3 billion is what they raise. Followed by that, on the state level, is 18,700, okay? These people raised $6.7 billion. When you come back down, and this is 2011 to 2014. Now, when you get down to the state local, there's 500,000 publicly elected officials, okay? There's 5 supervisors in Los Angeles have a budget of $28 billion a year. That's their annual budget, okay? So the influence and the capacity at the local level is huge. So we try to calculate how much money is at the local level, and it was next to impossible. So we came with the lowest amount of money that goes into local politics. It's about $9 billion. It's somewhere between about $9 and $30 billion with the standard deviation that we came up with. So when you think about a 4-year cycle, don't think about it in terms of $9 billion, think about it in terms of about $25 billion. Okay, networking and engagement. Think about Twitter. It's brands, it's media, it's, sorry, I got celebrities here. That's where the engagement is. Think about LinkedIn. Everybody has a LinkedIn account. Why do we have a LinkedIn account? We want to get bombarded by recruiters, right? That's what we have it for. So Facebook, it's friends and families, it's sunsets, it's cats. Anything that's political on these social networks is basically hostile. It's my candidate is awesome, your candidate is horrible. And that's what gets passed back and forth. It doesn't talk about the issues at all. The one thing that Bernie Sanders did 2 things in this last election. First thing he did was he actually created a grassroots campaign. That was actually, could have won if it hadn't gone up against something like the Democratic machine and Hillary Clinton. But he was the first time to build such a strong grassroots campaign. Now, the second thing he did is he talked about the issues, right? Bernie Sanders talked about the issues. Made his campaign talking about the issues. Do we talk about the issues anymore now in the presidential debate? No, we don't. It's just mudslinging, going back and forth. So what Open Campaign wants to do is allow people all the way from the local level, all the way to the county, state level, to actually create issues and have engagement on those issues, so it's not just about mudslinging going back and forth. So this is the social network that we've built, and it's actually doing really well since we just launched about 5 months ago.
Yeah, thanks. Well, from Kennedy to a bunch of prairie dogs. My slides are a little less. Well, still stay.
Prairie dogs are local.
I love prairie dogs. I love them so much that I made this picture. Hi, I'm Elana Berkowitz. I'm one of the co-founders of HelloVote. We launched all of 3 weeks and 1 day ago. We are the first ever chatbot for voter registration, so it means that you could register to vote via SMS, via Facebook Messenger, inside of Line. We can build a bot to work inside of
almost any app that has messaging capabilities. And, you know, and some of this, and frankly, I just like this photo, which we put up when we launched 3 weeks ago, but, you know, we've been thinking from the start kind of about social shareability, especially because we're a small team, tight timelines. So, you know, this is one of our little things. Oh, wait, guys. Sorry. All right, so just a little bit about how HelloVote actually works. You either can enter through click on our Facebook Messenger page and it'll open up the chat window. You can text hello to 384-387, which is our short code to initiate the process. You can text hola to 384-387 to initiate the same process in Spanish. Or you can go to the website hello.vote, enter your number and start there. Essentially, it has the feeling of, you know, you're in a text message conversation with someone who's asking you a series of questions, and in fact, in the background, the bot is filling out all of your state forms for you. There are a number of states that do allow full electronic integration, which means at the end of the SMS flow, you're fully registered, you're ready to go. In many other states that either don't let you integrate with their forms or have a wet signature requirement, at the end of the flow, based on all the information you sent us a couple days later, we will send you a pre-filled out PDF with your form in a nicely packaged envelope that has a stamp that we kindly paid for, and you just sign it and pop it in the mail. So kind of whichever state system you have, it's to our mind, real improvement on the voter registration experience for a mobile first generation. Of course, another part of this was, you know, obviously by creating a sort of fun new technology that we knew people would kind of buzz about, what we're also doing is collecting phone numbers for get out the vote work. So the bot can both register you to vote, but can also check your registration status. So when you enter into the flow, it first checks to see if you're registered at the address you think you're registered in. If not, it'll prompt you. But now we're starting to move into our plan for turning our bot into a get out the vote bot, who will be, in addition to providing the basic data that anyone who integrates with the Google Civic API can get, like where your polling location is, and ID requirements. We're also going to be experimenting with a couple of other fun mobile get out the vote features that I'm happy to tell you guys about over cocktails. Why messaging? I found this awesome photo. Do those phones ever really exist? I'm not sure, but yep. I like their colors and thought they looked cool. So, so I picked it. But so, you know, why did we bother to do this when there are already, you know, other web forms out there? So, you know, first of all, obviously, given that 1/3 of potential voters, around 70 million, are not registered, any tweaks that we could make in the process, even though sometimes they feel like small process tweaks, you can actually be talking about incremental gains of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of new voters. But beyond that, like, you know, I think that Americans are increasingly becoming mobile first users. So even though not everyone has a smartphone, 96% of Americans have some sort of cell phone. And the nice thing with SMS is it means that if you only have a flip phone and you have no internet access at home, for the first time you can get registered to vote. So this really, it's a product that works for lower income communities that might only have a flip phone. It works for younger people who are doing everything via their mobile phone. And as we noted, Americans are sending 6 billion text messages a day. So the idea was to build a product that felt native to what you're already doing all day in your spare time. You're not hanging out on like the state of Nevada's government website. You are hanging out in Facebook Messenger. You are hanging out in SMS. And also beyond that, texts have an open rate of 98%, which certainly beats the pants off of the 20% that we tend to see for emails. So again, some of this was saying, like, we are in a conversational and hopefully very chill way going to be sort of getting in your face and in your flow of daily information. And we already talked about that other note. Multi-platform messaging is super awesome. Let's talk about that for a second. So we, as I mentioned, launched 3 weeks and a day ago. So far, we've chatted with more than 120,000 people in 3 weeks, which we're pretty excited about. And even more exciting, for those who started, you know, who at least texted something to the bot, we're seeing a 72% completion rate across registrations and registration checking, which for those who have worked in the space and might be used to some of the numbers for 2012 web forms is enormously higher. And it's a very hard number to budge. We've run a bunch of experiments across lots of social channels where we might find unregistered voters. So Line, which, does anyone use Line? Yeah, so it's the average user, I think, is probably around 21, 22, lives in Asia, but they do have a growing base here. It's a lot of sending sticker packs back and forth. But anyway, the point being, we really wanted to experiment with as many platforms as possible. We also experimented, and we're just in early days of, it's very easy for us to pop up customized pages and SMS keywords, which we'd started popping up for our various partners. We worked with everyone from Latino Victory Project and the Korean Resource Center to MTV in West Elm. So we popped up pages, hello.vote/refinery29, for instance, so that way our partners could track how many people they voted, got registered. And once we did that and realized it took our engineers under 5 minutes, we thought we could also pop up these pages for individuals who want to communicate with their communities and frankly have big followings. So this is just one example that I thought was nice. So the actress Sophia Bush, who across Instagram and Twitter has a couple million followers, liked what we were doing, so we popped up hello.vote/Sophia Bush.
And I just tweeted out the Pepperdine page.
Oh yeah, and there's now hello.vote/Pepperdine, or you can text Pepperdine to 384387, and then you will be registered as a Pepperdine voter. And so, for instance, with Sophia Bush's page, so it means that her photo's on the page, and the first text message comes from Sophia. And the rest is just, it's the typical user flow. So I just noticed this tweet that I pulled, which is, it's really fun for a fan to feel like they actually got to text with someone they like and admire about getting civically engaged this year. This is early days for chatbots, and ultimately these experiences can feel much more personalized. But this is just one little idea of a 5-minute thing we did, and you can imagine what you could do with more than 5 minutes. Oh, and actually, sorry, and one other note about this, one feature that is now at hello.vote/studio, which anyone is welcome to check out, because we really wanted to prompt social sharing. Oh, I accidentally removed our Twitter impressions. I think we're over 150 million Twitter impressions already. And part of what we wanted to do to encourage social sharing, as I think was sort of touched on in other panels, very few people go to the polls simply because they see voting as an end versus a means, right? Very few people go to the polls because they just love it so much. And I think some of it is, we're a 501c3 nonpartisan nonprofit, so it is not our place to be telling you why you should vote beyond the sort of generalities of let's all participate in a really important election. So we wanted to make our tools as easy to use as possible for people who wanted to embed what we can do to help them tell their stories and motivate their communities. So the studio feature actually lets anyone now customize not just all of the intro text that come in, so you can tell your users why you want to vote, you can customize colors, and then tweet that out, Facebook it out, so it's really in your voice, which we thought was really important. We also built in iframe widgets so anyone could pop it into their site and really tell the story of why this election mattered to them in their own voices in ways that were not, was not something HelloVote was going to do. So just some quick parting notes. Oh, and HelloVote is a project of Fight for the Future, and we built in partnership with Twilio, which is a text messaging platform that IPO'd last year and now has twilio.org, and they were our kind partners. Just some quick thoughts that maybe we could all, I'm interested in, maybe we can all talk about. One is, with the rise of more and more political and civic activity happening across social media channels, is how do we balance having an appropriate official tone versus conversational, authentic tones, because our bot was filling out official government documents on your behalf, with you. And so some people said, why don't you have more fun emojis during the flow? And there's many reasons for that, and we do have a couple emojis that are little Easter eggs you can find, but part of that is because we want people to trust that in this new technology that they're not as used to using for this process, that something official is happening. So that was really a balance that we were attempting to strike in our product. Gatekeepers and partners, as I mentioned already, the people who are doing the hardest work are our partners, and we want to just equip them with another tool in their toolbox to do the much harder work of being on the ground and doing these things. I think gatekeepers are also an issue for all of us, which is to say, you can build the best tool in the world, but obviously any tool that gets into the Facebook flow is just, or into a, Snapchat flow is just going to have a billion eyeballs on it, and sort of, acknowledging the gatekeeper power of a couple of large social media companies is important, and thinking about how we can partner with them more successfully. moving forward, incentives for collaboration among civic orgs. As someone else already mentioned, this space is very starved for financial resources. As we all know, we were in the lucky position of having a philanthropy pay for this, I hope, pretty beautiful experiment we've worked on, and the code is open source. We'll be releasing fully and publicly all of our code and all of our data for people to use in any way they see fit, and that was sort of deliberate because we want to hopefully kind of move this space forward and give everyone access to these tools. I'll skip that next one. Just a quick systems change note. You know, I think we can all agree we can make a whole bunch of different tweaks on these products, and I think the question is, how do we also move those products forward to get more people registered while also having productive systems level conversation? I mean, obviously, if we had automatic voter registration like they have in Oregon, my product would be much less necessary. And because one of the questions you guys asked was, why are you doing this work? Most days I think it's because I'm a masochist, but also on the days when I don't think that, William Gibson, who's a cyberpunk author who some people might have read, he talked about how the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed yet. And so I spent the last decade in different ways thinking about how it could maybe be a little more evenly distributed.
Great. Well, thank you. Want to move to questions from the audience. And before we do, I just wanted to